Yo, what's going on? Hope everybody's doing super well. My name is Anthony Ricciardi, and I want to welcome you to episode number 2 of The Richual. So today what I want to do is I want to dive into my creative process and the steps in which I take to create a work of art. Specifically, I want to talk about something that a lot of you may know, but some of you may not, is that I'm colorblind. And I want to understand the way in which I create vibrant, colorful works of art, all while being colorblind. The goal with this episode is to understand how we've been able to overcome small hurdles in our life to execute something beautiful on the back end. So I'm going to dive into the colorblind thing now. So being color deficient is it's not that I see black and white, it's that I get colors mixed up. Meaning, here's a perfect example. I had my wife Cassie help me out with this. So we have blue and we have purple. To an average person who is not colorblind, these look like two separate colors. Now, if you're colorblind, you probably understand the same way that I do, that this purple and this blue look exactly the same. Although I can see that there's two separate squares, they look very similar. And that's where the issues come into play. Here's another perfect example, green and brown. Green and brown are one of the most difficult colors for me to see the difference of. They look very similar. And even if you have a very light or dark tone of it, it can look like something totally different. Like if I get a very bright green, it can look like yellow, like this, green and yellow. It's another two colors that I don't see the difference between. Brown and red, which is another perfect example of I can't see the difference between brown and red. Now, how does that come into play with my artwork? So early in my career, when I first started painting, I would grab a can of blue, I would grab a can of red, I would grab a bottle, and I would paint. So here's the blue on the canvas, here's the red on the canvas. All of a sudden, unknowingly to me, this becomes purple. So all of a sudden, the whole side of the canvas is purple. Now, I didn't see that transition happen because I knew I picked up a blue, I knew I picked up a red, and I understand that, in theory, when we're young, when we're in kindergarten, when we're in grade 1, 2, and 3, we're taught that colors do blend, but I don't see the result of the blending. So what would often happen was I'd be layering multiple colors into pieces of art, and we would get this muddy look. And my wife or my parents, whoever was seeing my artwork early in my career would be like, did you mean to do brown all up the side of this canvas? And there's a nice way of saying, this doesn't look good. This color that you've used here is not working with the rest of the canvas. This whole section looks beautiful. Why did you use brown here? And when I say muddy, what I'm referring to is the fact that when I'm using blue, red, yellow, pink, orange, all these different colors that come into play, unknowingly, they're becoming muddy. And what I mean by muddy is they're becoming an ugly brown that has all been blended up and mishmashed, and I don't see that happen. So what I've had to do is, by overcoming that is, two things. I never use brown in my paintings. And that's one little step that I've done. I've never purchased a bottle of brown paint because I understand that it's actually been the negative defection of a lot of my artwork. So that's one little step. But the second step is I've created a layering process. So by a layering process, what I mean by that is I add my blue, I let it dry. I add my red, I let it dry. I add my orange, and then layer. So if you've ever had the opportunity to see my artwork in person, you would know that my original canvases are very thick in texture. And although that's helped to develop my style, the concept was it was out of necessity. I had to let every single color dry in order to complete the painting with the visual that I wanted to complete the painting in. So when I talk about layers, when I talk about depth, I'm not only talking about a canvas, a paintbrush, and an executed piece of art. I'm actually talking about life. So when I look back on my life, the layers in which we've done things in are what allowed me to execute anything beautiful. Now, I can think back to being in finance. I worked in a real estate investment fund. Early in my career, it's a big hurdle when I came right out of school, wanted to work on these, I was very eager, as I always am, to learn and to develop, but it was the layers and processes in which I learned early in that career how to do a specific thing. I was an analyst, so how to analyze a specific property. And I layered that with how to analyze a bigger one, with how to analyze the borrowers that were there, how to analyze the location, and develop that into a package that would then be comfortable showing my boss or the presentation deck or whatever, or the investors. that is an exact same thing, the layering process that I use in my artwork. I think about baseball a lot. I was very grateful and honored to be able to play Division I baseball in the US. And when I think back to a kid, I'm teaching my son now how to hold a baseball bat, how to throw a ball. Of course, he's 9 months old, so he can't do those things. And when we think about the process of learning how to hold a baseball, the process of learning how to hold a baseball bat, it's all about the layers. The layers in which now I know how to hold. Now I know how to hold it back. Now I know how to swing. Now I know how to hold a ball. And these layers are the exact same steps that I've had to take to overcome. We can call it overcoming the fact that I'm colorblind, but I can create vibrant, colorful works of art. So when we're looking at life, when we're thinking about ourselves, when I speak about the beautiful aspect of a piece of art, or how I've overcome the fact that I'm colorblind, I don't see shades, I don't see the layers. Even when a canvas is completed, I actually don't see the overall view that you guys may see, unfortunately. Even when I'm in a gallery and I'm at a museum, I'm looking at a piece of art and it looks absolutely gorgeous, but I don't actually see it the way everyone else does. And I know anyone that's colorblind can relate to this. So what I've had to appreciate is the layers and the depth that make that canvas. The layers and the depth that make an incredible athlete. The layers and the depth that make an incredible businesswoman. That's what's so impressive. What's impressive is not the final product. It doesn't matter if the artist just splashed paint on the canvas. It doesn't matter if the investor or the businessman or woman just threw the presentation together. The layers, or what it may seem like. When people look at Jackson Pollock was an artist that, here's a picture of a Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock was an artist that just splashed painting all over a canvas. But for 25 years before that, he worked at different aspects of artwork, creating this process, creating these layers. So when I think about people saying, you're lucky as an artist to have a distinctive style, what they're referring to is they think they're referring to my hearts, they think they're referring to the use of pop culture within my artwork, but what they're referring to is the depth and layers to my artwork. So, you see, I can paint linked hearts or a singular heart on a canvas, or I can paint an altered version of Ali or Madonna or Audrey Hepburn. What the similarities between painting A and painting F or painting G, whatever amount of paintings that I'm showing in a singular setting is the background, is the layers that made up that canvas. Because whether I'm putting a singular heart on or a picture of Ali punching, if you subtract the heart and subtract the Ali, the depth and the ethos of what I paint is still there. So what I wanted to really highlight here was, I overcame this very small hurdle in my life, which was being colorblind, by using layers, by using depth to create what I wanted and create something that I felt was beautiful. As individuals, as business people, as creatives in the world, use the depth and use the lessons that you've learned throughout your life to create your beautiful artwork. And it could be in a business setting, it could be in athletics, it could be in anything. But understand that the steps you had to take to get there is the actual work of art. It has nothing to do with the output. It has everything to do with what you've done to get to that point. So the true beauty is in the layers. So truly appreciate the journey, appreciate the process, and enjoy the layers. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week for episode 3.